You've got $1 and you want to leave it behind, not to your kids, but to a charity, to a church, to a university. How do you do it? You've got money in an IRA, you've got money in your house, you've got money in a checking account. Which one do you give to the charity? The answer will almost always be the money inside of the IRA. Almost always. Find out more from the Financial Enhancement Group. Give us a call at 800-928-4001 or go to yourlifeafterwork.com. We'll walk you through the Better Giver. That's our program designed for charitable giving. We don't necessarily teach people how to give more. We just teach you how to give more effectively, more efficiently. Again, yourlifeafterwork.com or give us a call at 800-928-4001. Welcome to your Retirement Playbook. I'm your host, Joe Clark. The title of this segment, this one part, is Beginning Distribution in a Deteriorating Market. The theme for the whole show, if you've missed it, is really what to do now. There's craziness that's going on that abounds. Yikes is what may come to mind when you open up a statement. There's not a news channel or a newspaper that gives me one iota of confidence in our financial future. You may ask yourself the question, how do I possibly make decisions without any clarity at all? And they're honest questions. They're legitimate questions. I think we have to recognize we are in less control by far than we believe we are. When things go in the direction that we want them to go, we presume we have more control over the outcome. When things go distantly from what we had hoped, the inverse of what we'd prayed for, we think we have less and less control and the world is lost. The reality is it's somewhere in the middle. We don't have that control over many things. What we do have the capacity to control is how we respond to certain things. So years ago when I got into this industry, the idea, and if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can always watch the video at Your Retirement Playbook. It's a freebie. We do it on the video, so you're not seeing the whiteboard if you're listening on the radio or the podcast. But when we looked at this, when I got into the industry in 1987, what I was taught is people had a percentage of their money in portfolios. Let's say it was 60% equity and 40% fixed income, right? What you hear about the 60-40 portfolio. And then they would take that amount of money and they would live off of the coupons that came out of here, out of the bonds. So remember, bonds are taxed like interest, but they don't pay interest. Bonds pay coupons. It's important to understand that if you ever want to get the value correctly. But people lived off of these coupons, which was very tax inefficient. You've got to remember, I've done this for so long that when I got in the industry, the majority of the money was not in 401ks and 403bs. It was pensions, Social Security, and money that people had outside of IRAs and 401ks. And they would live on these coupons and let the equity market continue to roll. And whatever they didn't spend here, they would put up here, or when the market went up and this became worth more, they would pull money down here and buy more bonds. And that was just that constant game of going on. It had no tax consideration at all. Well, let's face it. I've always said I hate the IRS. That's not really true. I hate what lack of tax planning does for people's retirement. I think it's the biggest thing that is missed and overlooked, and I've never seen anything like the Internal Revenue Service separate somebody from the retirement they deserve. We just never have. You deserve the retirement that you earned, and I mean that. You know, we've talked about this before. It's a Zig Ziglar comment. Everybody pays a price. You either pay the price of discipline today or the price of regret later on. You either say no to going to Disney today, no to buying a newer car, no to buying a bigger house, and have a better retirement, or you buy the bigger house, you buy the nicer car, you go to Disney whenever you want, and you have the regret for retirement later on. Somewhere in the middle is where we have to meet. You can't say no to all of the fun stuff of life. That's not any good. But you can't say yes to everything either. You won't have a future, right? So it's that compromise that's inside and in between. Well, the IRS is the neutral system. I'm not advocating that person does a 60-40 portfolio by any stretch of the imagination. I would disagree with any number in a fixed setting or a static system in a changing and volatile market. What I created years and years ago was called the funnel solution system, though, and it was very much based on taxes. And it essentially said when you get into a volatile period of time, you have cash that's down here that's going to take care of the next 3 to 6 months worth of your income needs. The more volatile, the more that number needs to grow. The less volatile, the more it can be moved toward 3 months. I don't think you should ever have less than 3 months of accessible cash in any market, because you never know where market's going to play, what's going to happen in short-term volatility. Go to the fiduciary focus. Rule 1 is risk and volatility. Let's eliminate the need for volatility so we live out of cash. This minimum side is income producing investments. And notice I didn't just say bonds. There's a lot of things, real estate investment trusts, things of that nature, that produce income. That income is here. Ideally, money that's inside of IRAs produces more income because then it doesn't show up in your tax return. Money that's outside of IRAs produces less. But it's a combination of the two working together. And up at the top are your equity and growth machines, if you will. As markets change, this money flows down, this money flows down. As more opportunity extends itself, we may increase the equity percentage slightly and decrease the income production using capital gains as opposed to ordinary income as our tax liability, right? So it's a combination of the thing. What I want you to take away from this is that the days of clipping coupons are over, have been over for an extended period of time. You've got to have a comprehensive tax planning guidance in terms of where money comes from, what percentage of your money you're pulling out from where. In most cases, in our families, it's not money from one place, it's money from multiple places. Secondly, I believe in the 3-year examination rule. So when somebody comes in and says, how much money can I take? I'm getting ready to retire, I've got $1 million or $1.8 million. That seems to be an average and I'm seeing a lot of anymore. Somebody comes in and they got $1.8 million and they said, how much money can I take? And I will always go, okay, first question isn't how much can you take? The first question is how much do you need for your standard of living? How much do I need to replace your standard of living so that not 1 ounce of your life changes the day you quit, other than you no longer have to get up to an alarm clock if you don't want to, and you don't have to go to work if you don't want to. And so we come up with that number. That's going to be a certain percentage of their assets, likely. In some cases, it's a very small percentage. In some cases, it's a higher percentage, but we need to know that number. How much do you need to replace your standard of living? Secondly, we're going to help them develop the best strategy to be able to pull that out of. Which accounts from the tax planning side does that need to come out of, and what percentage do we need to get in order to attain that objective? That'll tell us the percentages that belong inside of this process. Now, we don't call it the funnel solution system anymore. Internally, we call it FSS 2.0. But this is the process that we've always used, and it really, really makes sense for a lot of different reasons. But you've got the percentage that you need to take out. The tax planning is put into order in terms of where it can be able to go. And we say, here's your income. Now you have something like 2000 occur with a tech wreck, or 2008 and 9, or the pandemic in 2020, or something bad happens, and the market goes down in value, and people will go, oh, right, I need to change my income. Well, if you've got this built up correctly, yes, this may be a larger percentage now of your portfolio simply because the equity went down, but you're still okay. It gives it time to work its way out. And what I've seen is over the course of 3 years, in my 35-year career, which is probably longer than your serious retirement saving days, it's always worked out. Whether it was 87, the tech wreck, as long as you had a diversified portfolio, you were attentive toward tax planning, you understood what was going on, our strategy has been able to work out where retirement plans really hadn't need to be changed. Even in 2008 and 2009, as long as you followed that, you were in good order. Now, people tend to get caught in risk, right? The fiduciary focus, risk and volatility. They get caught up in risk, principal risk. That's the value of something going down and not coming back. And that's typically not what happens. That's volatility. Risk is it coming down and not getting your money back, right? And that's principal risk. And we put such a large emphasis on it that people really change their lives for reasons that they don't need to. If you had the money and the cash and you had a proper income generator in the middle, you really wound up being okay and not having to make those changes. Don't just get caught up in this day and age just on principal risk. Don't get caught up just on interest rate risk. You know, it's exciting right now to see interest rates higher. It's bad for people that are having to get mortgages, but it's exciting for people that are wanting higher interest rates. Just understand inflation is greater than both, right? The inflation rate right now is higher than what the savings rate is. That means you have a guaranteed loss of purchasing power into the future. Inflation and purchasing power is just the one that we hit. Market risk is obviously the market going down and money not being there when you can get it. Credit risk is a bond having its risk lowered and the value on paper changing, even though it may mature at the same value that you bought it. Business default, we all know about. That's when a company goes under. Those are the ones you tend to hear about on the news. Ladies and gentlemen, there's many, many different risks to money. What's important is not just a diversified portfolio in terms of assets, but what's important is a diversified portfolio based on tax planning. It's the three phases of finance: accumulation, preservation, distribution. It's understanding the objectives in each of those three and making sure that you have laid out a strategy that lets you deal with changes that will occur. There is no way around it, right? There are going to be hiccups. There are going to be things that go bump in the night. But you can choose to react to them emotionally, or you can choose to have a response put together. It would be great to be able to predict all of the things that are going to occur. But as I've told my friends on many cases, if I told you it was going to be the day before the crash in '87, would you have invested or not invested? And their answer is not invested. And my answer has always been, how long until you have to use the money? Because you would clearly have invested today everything that you have if you knew from 1987 to 2022 what the market was going to do. You can do the same thing for the tech wreck, for 2008 and 2009. Long term, the market tends to behave. Short term, you have to deal with not just the volatility of the market, but the volatility of your emotions. Let us help you at the Financial Enhancement Group eliminate the volatility of your retirement. When you go to separate from the workforce, let us help you create a system that says, here's the income. You deserve the retirement that you earned. You made decisions. You made choices. Let us help you carry that over to the finish line and make sure that those decisions match up with what you earned. You deserve the retirement you worked